I am so honored to have been commissioned to make these display shelves for a restaurant that is legendary in Texas. This restaurant is even sung about in the Pat Green and Josh Abbott song called My Texas. Cooper's Barbecue has 6 locations across Texas. The location I made these shelves for is right in the Fort Worth Stockyards, right across the street from the world's largest honky-tonk, Billy Bob's Texas. What's up, y'all? My name is Andy, this is Epeius Garage, and welcome to my channel. If you are ever visiting Fort Worth, Texas, the Fort Worth Stockyards has got to be on your list. And if you're in the Fort Worth Stockyards and you want some authentic barbecue, then you need to go on over to Cooper's Barbecue, get you a bite to eat. Hey, and while you're there, you can check these shelves out in person. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you want notifications on future videos just like this one, then remember to ring that bell. Most of the tools and gadgets and material I'm going to link in the description. If you're interested in any of that, please feel free and check it out. I'll also go ahead and try and link the plans that Cooper's gave me to make these shelves. However, it is very specific, so I don't know if it'll be any use or interest to you, but maybe it'll give you some ideas. Hey, y'all enjoy the video, okay?
Got my material, let's get started. Alright, going to start by laying out my crosscuts. All these boards are going to be 5 feet long, and the bottom shelf is going to be wider at 18 inches wide, which I'll joint 2 boards for. And for these rolling shelves, I wanted the bottom shelf, basically the base, to be a little wider than the actual shelves. So to do that, I'm taking 2 11¼ boards. I'm going to joint them together, and that will be the very bottom base. The rest of the shelves are just going to be the width of the board at 11¼ Once I jointed my 2 edges, I laid them out in the clamps just to double check. And by looking at it, they had a really nice tight fit. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the glue up. As usual, I'm going to use some Tight Bond 2, and I'm going to be very liberal and generous with my pour. And I go ahead and I spread it out using a silicone basting brush that I got at the dollar store. They sell these basting brushes at the big box store for like $5 or $6. It's ridiculous. Same brush. Time to clamp them up. Of course, I never have enough clamps, so I had to do these in 2 separate series. I did this one, I let it dry, took it out, and then I did the next one because I am making 2 shelves. While those bottom shelves are drying, I'm going to go ahead and keep being productive here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of my shelves at 5 feet long. This is a little trick I do to get straight cuts when I'm not using my table saw. I use these yardsticks as a guide. Just make sure they're straight, line up your saw, and you're good to go. You'll get a really straight cut. Using a 1/2 inch roundover bit, on all the shelves I rounded over the edges for the top. It gives them a nice smooth surface. On the bottom of my jointed boards, I wanted to add a little extra support. So using these pieces of oak, I went ahead and added 4 screw holes, no glue, and just screwed them in place. Not sure if you noticed in my other videos, but I use this magnetic wrist screw holder. That thing works awesome. I'll link it in the description in case you want to get yourself one.
Quick update. Cut everything, sanded everything, took forever, glued everything up that needed to be glued up, which is the bottom shelf, and now it's time we're going to stain. Wanted to show y'all this really quick. May be something you want to think about doing if you're not already. But you make a little stain board, and this customer, we were trying to match up some certain items in the restaurant, so we ultimately all agreed on Red Chestnut was the closest, and that's what we're going to go with. Stay with me, only got a little bit left. And Kyle, Kimberly tells me you've been watching my videos. I appreciate it, man. This is a test to see if you're truly watching them. Y'all stay tuned.
Okay, time to stain. I like this about as much as sanding. But I will say I do like using a rag over a paintbrush. To me, I feel like the rag, you have more control of the stain color and how thick it goes on, less blotchiness. That's just my opinion. Let me know what your preference is in the comments.
1 down, a lot more to go.
as pine usually does. Had some knot holes, and I decided to use some JB Weld to fill those knot holes up. Like any epoxy, make sure you mix it really, really well.
Second coat of polyurethane has just dried. This is a little trick that I picked up from Steve on Woodworking for Mere Mortals. I'll link his channel. It's got really good stuff. Actually, he's what inspired me to get into this. But you just take some craft paper and you buff your pieces in between coats. And it takes off all those little fuzzies and rough spots without taking off any of your finish. So I'm getting ready to buff these down one more time. I'm going to put the final third coat on, and then I'll buff them one last time with craft paper, and these will be silky smooth.
And just for your info, I'm using a water-based polyurethane. I really like the way it goes on. It dries quick, and it always turns out good for me. Just my preference.
Time to put the casters on. But I did run into a problem with this part of it. So I bought these really nice casters. They're Vima. Come with gloves. Not sure why I need gloves. A wrench, stainless steel nuts, and bolts. Problem with the bolts though is they were not long enough. I'm using 1.5 inch thick material. They're not going to go through. I'm not going to be able to use the nuts. Not to mention I don't want it poking through the other side anyways, because this is going to be the bottom shelf. So I thought, well, hey, you know what? I'll go ahead and get some threaded inserts. These are nice. You drill a hole, you insert these in, and then you just screw your bolts into them. Problem with that is the stainless steel bolts they give you with this have some weird pitch. When I put it to my gauge, my bolt gauge, to find out what I needed to order, I couldn't find any thread inserts with this pitch. Odd. I don't know a whole lot about bolts, but I thought it was odd. So what I ended up having to do is buy bolts with the right pitch that will match the thread inserts. That's what I'm dealing with right now. Yeah.
So you don't want to go forever?
They're coming to aerate my... Aerate.
What's aerate?
Where they come through and put a bunch of holes in your yard.
Uh-oh.
To allow the air down into the soil.
Here I'm just drilling the holes for my thread inserts. Okay, don't make fun of me, but I thought I was pretty slick here. These came with an Allen wrench. Of course, the Allen wrench take forever to put these thread inserts in. So I cut off the end and I went ahead and made it to where it fit my impact. I thought I was pretty slick. What do y'all think? To ensure that these bolts stay in place, because this is going to be rolling, who knows where, and I wanted to make sure the bolts wouldn't come loose. So I used Loctite, not the permanent.
Morning, y'all. Man, there's nothing better than coming out to the garage or the shop with a fresh cup of coffee and getting ready to start the day. I have all my material. I'm ready to finish these shelves off. All I have left is cutting the pipe and basically building them up with the flange fittings. So that's what I'm doing today. It's going to be a good day. Alright, let's explain jigs and fixtures. Jig is something that guides the tool to the object that you're manufacturing, and a fixture is going to hold it in place so that you can assemble it. This is going to be a fixture. I went ahead and made this. This will definitely save you a lot of time in the long run. This took me maybe 20 minutes to make, not even. And what this is going to do is I'm going to be able to put it over the bottom shelf piece and line up the pipe flanges on the bottom. That way they're straight all the way up and they match all the way up, because the shelves, the second shelves are not as wide as the bottom piece and their top shelves are not as long. So I need to make sure these all go straight up. So I went ahead and started with a fixture. Let's see how this works. Alright, so here's my fixture. It's going to go over like that, and I'm going to push it flush like that. Now I know that this is the size of my next shelf right here. I want to make sure these are going straight up. I want them to be square with each other, and that's what this is going to allow. And you know what? We'll double check that. 8 5/8, perfect. So now I don't want it right on the edge. So I've got these awesome little shims, and I'll link these down in the description. So it comes in like 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, 16th, and 32nds. So you can shim stuff out. What I'm going to do is I want this, oops, there I go. I want it a 1/2 inch off of my shelf edges. I'll use those like that. These things, you can break them up into 6 pieces. I mean, they're really cool. I use them all the time. I highly suggest you buy you a set. I may do a video on them because they're so cool. But anyways, my pipe flanges are set. And just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here, this will be the next board. So the pipe can come up and it'll all match. It'll be like this. If that makes any sense. Tell me in the comments if it doesn't make any sense. Maybe I can clear it up. That's my fixture. I'm going to move on and I'm going to set this up for drilling, and I can use this on both sides. Cool.
And once I have those in place, I'm going to start the drill holes, and then I'll move them and I'll drill the rest of the hole with I got tape on the drill bit so I know how deep to go. Once I got my holes drilled, I just place the flange fitting over the holes and I lag screw them in. Okay, this view is of the bottom of the next shelf, and as you can see, the fixture will line up the next set, so they will align with the bottom ones we just previously saw. This is very important. That way they line all the way up the shelf and everything fits up right. I left everything a little loose and tightened it all up once I put it all together.
Good morning. Good. Alright, so if y'all are going to be thinking about doing some of these pretty cool little structural pipe flanges, there's one thing you need to think about. If you're putting pipe flanges on top of each other, you have to make them point in different directions to each other, if that makes any sense. Otherwise, your drill bit and your holes are going to line up, and you're going to break a drill bit, and your lag screws are going to hit each other. So for instance, if I do that one with the same fixture that I'm using on all of these, then it's going to perfectly line up with that one. So what I'm doing is I'm turning them sideways, and then I'll do the top one. The next shelf will be like that as well. So just something to keep in mind. Well, on to the final steps now. All that's left, so I'm going to make these back supports straight. Make sure I'm using my Loctite. And this pull level, I don't know if I've ever seen one before, but it's pretty cool. It's really good for posts, stuff like that. And voila, level. Oh look, this one's pretty level. Still got to put Loctite. So right now I'm going through, I'm going to put Loctite on all these. I want to make sure that these shelves, as they roll and stuff over the years, fasteners don't come loose by themselves. But I'm using the blue Loctite, so it's not permanent.
And these backboards are actually designed where they could fold their t-shirts that they sell over them. And I had specific dimensions. I think it was like 12 inches apart. So using my shims and some blocks, I just kind of set them up, got them where I need them to, put the pipe straps on the back, and then I was able to adjust them once I got those on. And these shelves are designed to set next to each other. So they're each 5 feet long, making a 10-foot long shelf, and everything had to be perfect so they lined up. And I am very happy to say that everything lined up very well. They'll look like one solid shelf when it's done.
Last thing, I'm going to go around all the little hex screws that tighten these poles up with a little bit of Loctite, tighten them all down really secure. I wanted to wait till this last to get it all straight. These only have a 1 hex screw. They tend to make them look crooked and push it only one way, so that was kind of tricky, but I think I got it. Looks good.
Wow, I'm really excited about how these turned out. Everything lined up, came out great, and Cooper's was really happy with it. As you can see here, there's the final display, and it turned out awesome.
First off, if you stuck around to the whole video to watch this, thank you. I appreciate it. The shelves, they turned out great. Working with this pipe, y'all, it definitely had its own set of challenges, but that's what I love about projects that get you out of your normal element. I would have probably never picked this pipe or done anything with it, and now I know all about it. I've learned from this project, and learning is always the key for future success. So I have another tool in my toolbox, as my boss would say. I'm very happy with everything the way this went. Y'all, stay safe, have fun. Andy out.